Hey Manuel.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Hey, what's up? How are
Awesome.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
That's great to hear. Thank you for taking the time to do this with me.
Sure,
Truly appreciate it, man. Thank you.
sure. Where are
Yeah,
you talking from?
I'm from Mexico. Where are you?
Oh, I'm from India.
Nice, nice.
I have
What
a friend
time
in
is it
Mexico.
there?
It is around 8 o'clock in the morning. I think it's 9:30 there, right?
Oh, yeah, it's 9:30 here. Sorry to
Yeah.
wake you up so early.
Oh, this is fine. I generally wake up at 7-ish. So today I just woke up a little earlier. So thanks. I have been trying to wake up earlier, but it's a big struggle, man, to wake up.
Nice, 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 nice. Yeah, so first of all, thank you again for being here.
Sure, man.
It's just, as I told you, a normal, casual chat. I love what you're doing. I'm really excited about your project, and yeah, I want to talk about it. I want to know more. So I guess we can start with the first question. It's just what does your background look like? Your work, studies, hobbies, whatever you want to share.
Sure. So I started as a designer. I as soon as so initially when I was in school, I wanted to be an animator, but as I started learning more and more about animation on Google, what I realized is I can learn it all by myself, most of the stuff. And when I went to these all animation schools here in the place where I stay, they were not that great. The teachers were not able to answer any questions. So then I decided, okay, it's not a good idea to go to these schools. I might as well learn these things by myself. So, but eventually, as I went to college and I started, figuring out what to do, which will pay me, because there was not enough I could do in animation from career standpoint. Uh, so I started taking up design gigs. So any gigs that anybody who wants logos, any kind of graphic design work to be done, I used to do that. And eventually I got into filmmaking. And so most of my life has been as a creator. So from design, I came into filmmaking, and as a filmmaker, I built up a film production studio here, and did a couple of commercials, directed them. Then I also directed my own movie, which kind of was one of my most ambitious projects, which also got crowdfunded. So I crowdfunded the money for that movie to complete that movie. And eventually, so filmmaking was also there. I was extremely passionate about it, but it was still not paying enough for my goals, the goals that I wanted to achieve. So eventually I got into marketing, which was kind of a evolution into what I was already doing. So I used to make a lot of videos for companies, and then offered them to market those videos so that they can start getting leads and sales. So that's how I got into marketing, and then eventually, through marketing, I got introduced to behavioral design and behavioral science, basically. And that's when I realized that whatever I have been doing since childhood, in fact, as a child, I used to sell a lot over the counter in our shop. So we had a store. It's like a mom and pop store. So I used to love selling to people over the counter. And so eventually, when I got introduced to behavioral design, I realized, oh, this is exactly what I have been doing subconsciously, whether it is selling over the counter, selling through a video, selling through a design, or in any ways. So I used to kind of always focus a lot on the psychology of people, how they behave, how they act, and then figure out how I can leverage that understanding to sell better. And so uh, I kind of got really excited about this entire field. And then I started this side project called as CoPatterns, which is basically I go through all these studies that have happened uh, on the insights of human behavior in behavioral science, and I tried to simplify it for my own understanding. But then I thought, why not just publish it? So then I created a library of 105 psychological patterns that, and the way I framed the explanations is for if I'm a creator or I'm a designer and I want to understand how to use this uh, for my purpose. I So what I did was I framed it from that angle, from the angle of how a creator would read it, understand it, and use it in their own products or courses or content or ads or landing pages or emails, right? So that is how that has been the evolution. So now I have been like trying to spend a lot of time on co-patterns, trying to figure things out. I'm still not sure where this is going to go, but what I know for sure is there is nothing else that can trigger my curiosity as good as co-patterns. Like, it just makes me feel you know this is something that I should keep pursuing. So yeah, I mean that's the basic introduction. I think that was too long, but
That was great.
yeah.
That was such you have such an amazing journey. I'm so glad I asked. And yeah, I mean, from design to film to marketing to being a creator in this SaaS world. Well, I don't know if you're gonna monetize that, but it's definitely gonna help SaaS businesses.
Yeah.
And yeah, many different angles you can take on the Co-Patterns project, which is actually the one where I got to know you from. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
what would you what comes to your mind as the first thing that you could apply to when you see co-patterns?
well, I was thinking of landing pages because
Okay.
that's what I was actually building when I heard about your project. So
Understood.
that's how my mind relates your co-patterns project, and I think it's awesome that you did it on. I believe it's on Airtable, or what did you
It's
use
Airtable.
for? Yeah,
Airtable. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's great. It's a great way of filtering out stuff and finding quickly what you want. But it's
Yeah.
a huge. It's still, even with filters, it's still a huge list of content.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has definitely a long way to go, and yeah, I cannot wait to see where it goes.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, so uh, guess that answers the question about your background. And well, this one is more of a deep question. It's the why. I love to know why people do what they do, what motivates them, what what gets you out of bed every morning. So that would be the next question, the why.
Yeah, that's actually quite deep. Uh, so I have been thinking about this myself. Of course, like I think every creator tends to think, why am I doing what I'm doing? To be honest, I don't have a very clear answer. But I know that I'm very curious by nature. And if there is something that does not fulfill my curiosity, I can't do it. Like, I just can't lift my fingers and do anything if it's something that does not fulfill my curiosity. And so I think that is the basic uh, motivation for me to get into whatever the things that I got into, right? Design, filmmaking. And so at the end of the day, what I'm extremely excited about is new ideas, different ideas, or new perspectives to look at the world. So one of the things that I do a lot is collect a lot of frameworks, like frameworks and mental models. Have you heard of mental models frameworks?
I've heard of mental models, but you can explain
Yeah.
it here because I'm not
So
super familiar.
I think it's kind of the same thing. I have not been able to really explain the difference between frameworks and mental models. But mental models is more at a principles level, like more fundamental, like rules of thumb, which are applicable to a wide range of situations. Uh, and frameworks are, uh, let's say, a bunch of questions you need to ask to solve a certain problem. So, for example, the most one of the most famous frameworks in the business world is entrepreneurship world is the business model canvas, right? Where you figure out what your business model should be through a bunch of questions: who should be your customer segment, what should be your value proposition, etc. So these are, end of the day, these are all questions, and a bunch of questions, when you put them together in a certain sequence, sometimes there is a sequence, sometimes there is no sequence, it becomes a framework. And that framework by itself has a goal to solve a problem. With business model canvas, the problem is to figure out what is your business model. So in behavioral design also, there are a lot of frameworks. So there is a framework called as Octalysis framework, which is a gamification framework, where you figure out uh, how to gamify any app, or how to use the principles of gamification to uh, gamify any system that you have designed. So it need not be an app as such. It could be any kind of system that you are designing, right? So that's another framework. Coming back to the question, it's basically my curiosity that triggers me. And there are two things. First of all, exploring a lot of new things, and then sharing it with the world. These two things are definitely something I'm extremely motivated by. uh, yeah, so I hope
Yeah,
that answers the question, because I still am in the process of figuring, or in the process of finding a way to say what I am motivated by, or my why, right? So I've not been able to articulate it completely. I just know, because your motivation is always at a gut level, right? It's very, very intangible. You cannot intellectualize certain things after a certain point. So that is the whole problem. Whenever I try to put words on those things, they they seem to limit what I really am motivated by, right? uh, I can put words to it, right? I want to have a legacy, I want to create an impact, right? I want to help people. Okay, all that is fine, but it still does not encompass my motivation in the right way, right? I mean, when I use those words, they should also trigger the same emotions in you. If it doesn't, then I'm not able to communicate it properly. So, and that's the case right now. So it's very intangible. It's very I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out, how to explain
yeah.
that.
It
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
complete sense. It totally resonates
yeah.
with me, and I also believe we are somewhat limited by the language itself,
Right.
by trying to express something that we are not super certain about, something we feel, but
Yeah,
the way we express it comes out completely different. So I completely understand what you're saying.
yeah.
Um,
What is your motivation? I would like to, let's make this
well,
more interactive.
my motivation, the same as you. I'm driven by curiosity, and innovation is also my passion. So whenever I see any problem that can be automated, especially things that take away my mental energy throughout the day, anything that can be automated using technology, I'm gonna focus on that and I'm gonna work through that because I like having all the time to be creative, to not
Yeah,
worry about the small stuff. So
the redundant, repetitive stuff.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah,
are most of the things that gets through
yeah.
my
So
head.
exactly. So I recently did this test by on this website called principlesu.com by Ray Dalio. Have you checked it out? So it's very interesting. So it's a personality test, and it seems to be pretty accurate for me. And my archetype came out to be an inventor. So I'm an inventor. Like, that's my personality type. So there are like a bunch of, I don't know, like more than 10 archetypes. You should check it out. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I remember.
It
Yeah,
will.
I took that test too. I'm also
Oh,
an architect, but I don't remember which type. Completely
okay.
forgot. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting test. You should try that out. So, yeah, I mean, that's one of the most, that actually made me comfortable with my curiosity, right? Doing that test. So, because when initially I used to feel, oh, why am I like this? Why am I always chasing new ideas and, trying to learn new things? And why don't I just settle on one thing do it, and but then I realized, oh, that's how my personality is. So now I need to think, how can I use this understanding about me, that I am an inventor type, and then leverage that to build anything that I'm trying to build. And I don't have an answer to that yet, but I at least have the right questions, I hope, right now. So let's see.
Yeah, I think definitely that's what's important, having the right questions and always
Yeah,
questioning if you have if you're asking the right questions. I think that's what
exactly.
matters. And yeah,
Yeah,
we I believe we all share that personality as indie hackers or indie
yeah.
makers or whatever you want to call them. I believe we share some kind of personality where we cannot specialize in something because we want to be great at everything. We want to be
Hmm.
just curious about everything. There's this quote about this from this philosopher, thinker. I don't know what to call him. Naval. Have you heard of him?
Naval. Yeah,
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 Naval.
yeah, of
Yeah,
course. Hmm.
and he says like a specialization is for insects. Like it's kind of a drastic way to say it, but yeah, he also believes that
Yeah,
humans are meant to do everything and try itself on everything. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's
In
awesome.
fact, I think even he is that kind of a guy, Naval. I don't know what his personality type would be, but yeah, I love this guy. I mean, the kind of stuff he says, it resonates pretty well. So one of the things that I really liked about Naval, when it comes to exactly this topic, is when he said, "Follow your intellectual curiosity," right? Something around those lines. And it's part of how to get rich thread that he has written. It's part of that thread, and that's pretty interesting. The entire thread is pretty mind blowing, actually. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely. I love that thread. The how to get rich without getting lucky.
Without getting lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Right.
really good thread. Everyone should learn about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so next question is ideas. What's your main source of ideas? How do you
Hmm.
uh, come up with anything? Do you have specific communities where you check if there are any problems coming up or something?
Yeah. So I have tried a few approaches to come up with ideas, right? Uh, I have tried to go into communities, read at the messages and comments and what people are interacting on, and try to find where the problem lies. It has not worked for me. So, what has worked much better for me is when I face a problem and I'm not able to solve it, and that is when certain ideas strike me. And in fact, the whole point is to have, for me, the whole point is to have that idea really grip me, right?
Yeah,
Really
solve
have that
your
hold
own
on me.
problems. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it mostly happens when it is about solving my own problem. So co-patterns was kind of that. It was trying to be more predictable in the success that I got from marketing, or mostly the creatives that I used to create, right? Or if I look at a certain ad or a landing page, how do I know for sure, like with maximum probability, that if this is going to work or not? Right now, I can tell you with 80% surety if something is going to work or not, right? Just by looking at the landing pages or ads, because of course it's a combination of studying the behavioral science aspect as well as practicing running a lot of ads and creating landing pages and creating a lot of content. It's a combination of both. But it is that want or the desire to have a predictability in the success that I can have is what drove me to figure out ways to find methodologies, find different things, basically, to do it. Yeah,
Yeah, basically predicting the level of success of something on the internet. And that's something of a huge
yeah,
value. Uh,
yeah.
I can expect
And
you
there
monetizing
are
that super quick.
okay.
Sorry,
I mean,
go
in
ahead.
fact, you know what? I have been clueless how to monetize this. Right now, I'm just giving it out for free. I have seen something not even as good as this. people are selling it out for like $50 and $60. uh, I just don't feel comfortable enough because I feel that there is so much more potential to improve this and then put it out. But I think that's a trap that every creator falls into, and I'm still trying to figure out how to monetize it. I don't know how to monetize it. I don't know, as in there are certain ideas in my mind, but until I execute them, I see the response of the market. I'm not going to know if this is really going to work or not. Yeah, I was saying something else, but I forgot. That's fine. Maybe we'll come back.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds great. Okay, so the next one would be so you about your time management skills. Do you live with your family? Like, how do you
Yeah,
balance full-time work
I
if you
stay with
have
my
one?
parents.
How do you?
Yeah, yeah. So my parents just shifted in, moved in with me around 1.5 years ago. But before that, I used to stay alone here in Pune. So the city I stay in is called as Pune. Um, so I my time management is very bad, to be honest. I'm not really good at it. So what I've been trying to do lately is try to at least wake up as early as possible. At least that's the one thing that I'm trying to do. But the rest of the time, I'm just either writing. I write a lot. Any idea that I have, I start with writing. Uh, then there is some
What do you
client work
write?
that I'm everything, right? If I have ideas for a piece of content, if I have any thoughts, if I want to talk with myself, because like as a creator, it 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 tends to get pretty lonely, and there are very few people who will understand you, right? uh, if you go out and speak with somebody, you will just regret that you spoke with them or you talked about your issues with them. So if there is some kind of conflict going on in my mind, I would just write about them. I would just have a conversation with myself in writing. And most of the times the problems do get solved. The whole point again comes back to having the right questions. So what I do is I ask questions to myself and then I answer my own questions, and slowly my thoughts come out on paper, and then most of the problems which are here get resolved, and some of them can be resolved over time. So I write about that. I write about a lot of my ideas. So I also create my own frameworks. Like, if let's say I've been working on a framework uh, for figuring out how to exactly trigger your customers, not trigger, but connect with your customers in the moment when they look at your ad, or in the moment when they look at your landing page. So I've been working on that aspect, creating a framework around that. So I write a lot about that in my notebook. In fact, I have my notebook all the time on my table. So I write on paper and with a pen. And once I have my thoughts more crystallized, then I type it out in a Google document. So that's my process of documenting. Yeah. So uh, most of my time goes in that when it comes to time management. The only thing I know that at 1 o'clock I'm going to have lunch, and at 8 o'clock I'm going to have dinner. But most of the time I'm just happy creating stuff, right? Uh, or like, let's say half of my time goes in co-patterns and the rest of the time goes in my client work, the clients that I am working with. So yeah, that's my division of time between these two.
Yeah, I rely on writing too because of the same reason you just mentioned. There are not a lot of creators or that I know of around me physically, and Twitter is not so great to connect. It's not real interactions like this
Yeah.
one, for example. So yeah, I also rely on writing for getting everything off my head, solving issues. It
Yeah.
helps a lot. Yeah, I
So
agree.
what all do you write? Like, what exactly do you prefer writing? And what's your style? Do you write on a notebook? Do you write on a notepad?
Yeah, I write on. I don't write physically so much. I used to, but I prefer. It's way easier to organize and reorganize ideas digitally. So I
Mm-hmm.
just I use Notion. I used to use
Okay.
Google Docs, but
Mm-hmm.
as soon as I discovered Notion, I switched everything there because it's
Wow.
so much easier to organize the stuff in there. So yeah, if
Mm.
you haven't tried out, you should. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I will. I will. So I have just checked a few Notion templates and stuff like that. I haven't used it. I think I should just give it a shot.
Yeah,
I'll check
it's
it out.
really easy to use. It's really, really easy. It's like Markdown. Have you used Markdown
Mm-hmm.
language? Yeah, it's like
Yes, I have.
Markdown, but made easy. It's like way easier.
Okay.
You just write
Mm.
a slash and everything
It just
a
comes
pop
there.
up. Yeah, yeah, like a heading,
Mm.
tables, boards, whatever. And I even
Nice.
have my roadmaps, like my to-do list and in progress and everything in there.
Okay. Interesting.
Uh, yeah, I'm actually storing everything about this interview in Notion. So I'm reading it from my phone here. It's great because
Oh,
the iOS
nice.
app is actually really good too. So yeah, I use it
Interesting.
for everything.
Interesting. Interesting.
Uh, and I wanted to ask if you're working on any future projects unrelated or related to co-patterns, or are you working fully on just co-patterns right now?
Yeah, I'm only working on co-patterns. There are a lot of ideas in my head, but they are in the they I have just bought a lot of domains, but I have not touched them. Nowadays, all projects are based on domain names, right?
Yeah.
So if you have an idea, you have a domain name. If you don't have a domain name, that's not an idea. So,
Yeah.
so, so yeah. So I have, but the only one I'm working on is copatterns.com, and within that, so copatterns is not exactly. I won't call it a project. It's more like an idea under which there are multiple projects. So the one project that you see today, which is the 105 psychological patterns to build stuff, right? That is just one project. The next project that I'm working on is an evolution of the first one. So what I realized is people are not able to apply abstract principles into their
Yeah.
work. So what I have started doing is identify the design patterns in every single skill set. So I've started with graphic design, right? So in graphic design, how can you apply these psychological patterns for your landing pages and ads, right? So it's a combination of these principles, a skill, and a format. The format is landing pages and ads. The skill is graphic design, let's say, and the principles are principles. They are applicable across all the skills. So Alpha, I have been working on that aspect, which is graphic design, how to use certain design patterns to trigger certain behaviors or to create certain perception, right, in people. So I have started publishing them on Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter, like one pattern every week. uh, and once I'm done with that, then I'll just create a library and publish it for everyone. So that is the project that I'm working on right now. Apart from that, I have been trying to figure out how to monetize this whole thing, but the design patterns thing has been working out really well. So every time I publish any post on Indie Hackers and Twitter and LinkedIn, I tend to get around 10 to 15 leads in a single day. I mean, the signups, newsletter signups in a single day, which is pretty decent. Anyways, I have zero traffic right now, so zero organic or paid traffic. All the traffic that comes is coming through the communities. So uh, I think that's my goal, to publish these patterns. So I think these design patterns are much more concrete. People can just pick it and use it, right? It's like a Lego block. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
creating Lego blocks of patterns which influence human perception.
That's a nice
You can say
elevator
that.
pitch. Yeah, that's genius.
In fact, I just came up with that
That's
on the
that's
go.
awesome. Yeah, super genius. I
Yeah.
think that's a very quick way to find your niche, which I think you're doing, having that much traffic. So yeah,
Hmm.
congratulations. I hope I can see more of those projects in the future. So obviously send
Yeah.
everything you have to me whenever things are ready.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, finally, the last question is maybe if you have advice or a quote that you like, whatever you like to share.
Mm, I don't have any advice for sure. Uh, and quotes. I Let me think. I don't have a quote recently that I have, liked or anything like that. So I just know that one of the things that I have realized lately is uh, no matter so a lot of my the problem being a creator is a lot of time when you're creating, there is you are waiting for the inspiration, right, to come and then start. And what I have realized is I wasted a lot of time doing that. But as soon as I just opened up a document or opened up my notebook, took a pen in my hand and started scribbling something, something came up. So I think I'm trying to practice that more instead of waiting for the inspiration. In fact, this is something that I have been doing before, but sometimes it just kind of you just forget about it. You just forget that you should actually sit, like put your ass on the seat and get started, and something will come out. So that is something that I have been trying to implement a lot, and it has been helping definitely. Something always comes up. uh, your mind is pretty powerful to figure out what to do with that time that you have, right? So it's just giving your mind that space to work in. Yeah, that's it. And I wanted to ask you, what are you working on? What project are you working on?
Well, current.
So that everybody also knows.
Thank you. First of all, yeah, that's great advice. Just open up your canvas and start doing stuff that is in your mind. So yeah, I'll start doing that instead of just writing down my ideas. Yeah, I'm an iOS developer, so I'm currently working on an app that is compatible with the Mac and iOS, kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
password manager. I've tried to use some in the past, but they are kind of slow a little bit. So I'm figuring out,
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning about encryption, I'm learning about security, and I'm at the very start of this journey. So yeah,
Amazing.
hopefully that something nice comes out of this.
Yeah, it's about the process. I mean, if there's one quote, it is about that. It's about the journey, not the destination. So
Exactly. Yeah, trust the process.
yeah, trust the process. Yeah, yeah. But we tend to forget that because the thing with this is we are so used to quick feedback loops that when you are into the creation mode, you have to spend literally 3 to 4 months creating without getting any kind of feedback loop, right?
Yeah,
Of course, I mean, if that is why building in public is much better sometimes, where you keep putting things out through tweets and you keep getting some feedback loops, and then based on that you evolve, right? So yeah, I mean, it kind of works in certain cases.
yeah, we just have to
So
keep
yeah,
going and be patient, trust the process, and yeah, just
yeah,
keep moving.
trust the process.
Yeah.
Trust the process.
Okay, man.
Yeah,
So, yeah, again, thank you very, very much for your time. And I enjoyed talking to you a lot. And
me too.
yeah, whenever you have new ideas, new projects, feel always free to just DM me on Twitter. Yeah,
Sure.
thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
I really enjoyed this. Bye bye.